Hi, everyone. Welcome to our final session of the year for the CHCI-Alumni Association series of webinars that we've been hosting throughout the year. We're really excited to close out the year with this final session, including Jasmine, who is our Vice President of the Alumni Association, and Leo, who is joining us to share his wisdom, who is also an alum of the organization. CHCI, in partnership with the Alumni Association, are really excited to host these sessions with the really helpful sponsorship from State Farm, which continues to be a great supporter of the Alumni Association as we continue to figure out ways to support the more than 4,000 alumni across the country. I'm really excited personally to have Jasmine really help us lead this session in her new role as a talent executive with LinkedIn to really help us figure out like what are the next steps as an alum, regardless if you just graduated within 2020 or you graduated 20 years ago. So I'm really excited, for the session, the tools and the skills that she'll help us share, and how do we leverage technology to our best ability. I want to note for everyone that this session will be recorded and will be made available afterwards. So if you're joining late, if you are busy commuting home or finishing up your workday, you'll be able to check it out a little bit later. But I'll go ahead over and turn it over to our great Vice President, National Vice President of the Alumni Association, Jasmine Garcia. Take it away, Jasmine.
Thank you, Jose. Appreciate the lovely introduction. I kind of felt the love, like you actually care about me. But no, all joking aside, I'm really, really excited to be here today because, and especially with Leo, because we joked, I'm like, I've been doing this session more or less unofficially for the organization, being a staff member, being an alumnus, for fellows and alumni, and now to get to do it professionally on behalf of LinkedIn. It's actually a pretty big deal on this side to do Rock Your Profile sessions. That's actually what it's called. And there's a lot that goes behind the scenes, honestly, to put these sessions together, to be on brand. But given that this is a special audience, in my opinion, for me, I definitely want to keep the same vibes, see this as a session. If you were doing programming with me, hopefully it wasn't too traumatic, but let's go ahead and kind of keep those vibes. If you have questions, if you want to stop me, feel free to kind of enter it in the chat box. I know in the Q&A chat box, the CHCI team is going to help me kind of monitor that because I also cannot see. So all I can see is my presentation. I can't see anybody else. So the CHCI team is going to go ahead and help me. Leo, like I said, is here partnering with me. So you'll hear him and see him kind of chime in throughout the session. But again, like I said, I also want you all to kind of chime in any questions that you may have. I did one of these yesterday, so I know that I kind of can anticipate already some questions that are going to come along. But again, really excited to be here to get to do this with you all on the official side. I don't know if before I get started, are we good to go? Yeah, I can see Plaza, so I just wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything. Okay, there's also, give me 1 second. Okay, everything's good to go. All right, y'all. Sorry, as you can see, tech difficulties on my end. I'm gonna go ahead and get started with the presentation. And what we're gonna do today is talk to you all a little bit about LinkedIn. Get to know a little bit about us. What is our purpose? What is our mission? I'm going to definitely tie it into my purpose and my mission. And it's kind of how I even ended up here, right? Why LinkedIn? Why does it matter? Why does your professional, more or less, image matter, right? And what does professionalism mean? That's actually a good conversation we got into on my session yesterday. We'll break down a little bit about your profile, your story. What does that mean for you? Then we'll have some Q&A and then, wrap up. And like I said, in between, I'm going to have Leo kind of chime in on his perspective. So to get us started, get to know LinkedIn, right? Like I mentioned to you all, am very excited to now be on like the professional side of LinkedIn and share with you all kind of what is this In It Together campaign that we have going on at LinkedIn. And it actually aligns very closely to who we are as a CHCI community. We understand that we don't get here by ourselves, right? There's a community behind us that's helping us. And in that similar fashion, LinkedIn operates in that way. We know that professionally, or really in any facet of your life, you can't get there alone. So we want LinkedIn to be that community that you find to help you move forward in your life, right? And you can find more information on our In It Together campaign. I'll make sure to follow up with some resources so you get to know a little bit more about that. But that's kind of, a foundation for us, especially in the time, right, of still COVID. I don't want to say like, post-pandemic, because we're still in it, especially right now, right? But it's making sure everyone sees this network. It's there to help everyone, right? I always joked around, I remember doing these sessions with you all, right? Like if you create a LinkedIn profile, you created a profile that's like an informal contract where you are wanting to like send recommendations for folks, or you're willing to connect another folk if they're interested in a certain job, or if they're interested in a volunteer opportunity. Like this is that informal contract to answer those like random cold emails with that respect, right? And so at the end of the day, it's really, that's the platform we're trying to be right now. I know we have a lot of different initiatives that are gearing towards talking about what it really means to be professional. I don't know if many of you have had the opportunity to see, but I think it was like 2 weeks ago, we launched this video, like 3 minutes long. And it kind of broke down like professionalism is taking your lunch. Professionalism is taking a break, in the middle of the day. And that doesn't mean that you're not, again, that is what means to be professional, right? Because I know a lot of us, whether you're in corporate or not, whether you're a nonprofit, in government, sometimes you feel like, I don't know, for some reason, like you're not doing enough or you're not doing the work you're supposed to do if you take your break. But that is part of, work. We spend over 80% of our lives in our jobs. So, that is encompassed in like what it means to be professional. So that's a little bit about LinkedIn, a little bit more about what our vision is. And again, the reason why I kind of ended up at LinkedIn, and it's creating economic opportunity for every member of the global workforce. That's been my North Star, as well as, I've jumped from, again, Congress to nonprofit to now corporate. I remember when I was at CHCI, right? Like I wanted to make sure I'm like every single fellow here, like, please make sure you get a job that's making over X amount, because you're not going to be taking those staff assistant roles, because it really makes a difference. We all know this, right? It makes a difference on where you start salary wise, right? And not just the position that you're taking. And so having those raw and honest conversations about like, hey, this is how I started and it sucked. And like, I've been able to kind of pull myself out of it, but I could have been here if I did this. So like, let me share that with you, right? LinkedIn does that. Also kind of to go back, I don't know if many of you kind of know where this started on my end, but I didn't come with connections. My family doesn't know people like that. I didn't know about resumes. I didn't know about business cards, but I had a LinkedIn profile. Once I found out about LinkedIn in college, that's what I created. That's where I started building on my network. I got accepted into CHCI. CHCI became that network for me. I started building it on LinkedIn. And every single job that I've had, I know LinkedIn has played a role in that. And so I even talked about that in my interview. When I joined the team over here, I'm like, hey, like, you have stayed true to your vision in my life, right? Like, again, I didn't come up with anything, but this platform did that for me. And I know it's done it for a lot of folks because I talked a lot about it when I was at CHCI. We definitely leveraged this platform, right? And so again, going to continue to talk more about that. Leo, I don't know if you want to chime in a little bit and share your part of your story,
Yeah, I just want to say when it comes to LinkedIn, just seeing that vision, I think about that a lot. I remember taking advantage of the premium, LinkedIn Premium, basically when the pandemic started, and they offered it to me with zero charge. And I think it was because of the sign of the times, right? We were in an economic recession, and I used LinkedIn in the same way that Jasmine highlighted before, to look at like my own personal network, CHCI, and like when I first came to DC, CHCI kind of really exacerbated my network on LinkedIn. So I just wanted to share that, yes, LinkedIn is very intentional in the economic mobility that it offers. I think it was really smart and meaningful, at least to me, to have a free LinkedIn premium profile and all its benefits that really helped me procure a job. So
Thanks, Leo. And then tied to that, our mission, which actually is quantifiable, right? It's connecting the world's professionals to make them more productive and successful. You can see that through a variety of our different solutions and our products, through LinkedIn Learning, through how you can engage. And I'll talk a little bit more about that with companies, right? Our sales navigator that allows a lot of our fundraisers, those that fundraise, my bad, to really leverage a platform that connects them, to individuals that'll get them to that next step that they need. So there's various different ways, again, that we help our professionals be more productive and successful. And that's actually part of my job. That's exactly what I do at LinkedIn, talk to nonprofits day in and day out, sharing with them, how LinkedIn can be of service to them. So now that we've talked a lot about LinkedIn, all about LinkedIn, a little bit about the company. Let's talk a little bit more about exactly our network, right? So why LinkedIn, right? And we did share a little, how LinkedIn has connected me to economic opportunity, how it's helped Leo, right? But it's really that, it's connecting individuals to opportunity. And I mentioned to everyone, right? It could be for that next step, right? Or it could also be for a volunteer opportunity, or it could just be for a connection, right? Like not everything has to be so transactional. Like we know that is the purpose of LinkedIn, right? But something that I know we always talked about at CHCI when I was there, and we still talk about it now as alumni, is building relationships, like truly authentic relationships, to just be a better human being, right? And you can do that through this platform, being connected to opportunity in a variety of different ways. Sorry, I'm still not really good at these transitions. Now to share really fun stats. This is probably like my favorite part of LinkedIn, is how much data we have, and really fun data, right, as it relates to our workforce. But I wanted to share with everyone, right? We are now at over 800 million members on LinkedIn globally, and scaling, very, very rapidly. This means a lot, particularly to those in the workforce, right? I mentioned I work daily with nonprofits. It's helping our CEOs, our HR executives get together and utilize our platform to find the right talent to meet their objectives at their organization, right? And we have the largest talent pool of qualified individuals to meet those needs. They're all on LinkedIn, providing that information with the click of a button. You can find it, right? You also have over 858 million companies, building their own career pages on LinkedIn, telling their story, again, simultaneously meeting their hiring objectives through our platform, but then also getting the word out. So for example, nonprofits to be able to meet their fundraising needs, right? That's another opportunity to tell their story and how they're making an impact. We have 14 million jobs and growing, on a regular basis. Some really cool stats that include, in terms of, I think it's like every 3 seconds, someone gets a job on LinkedIn. Like it's insane in terms of the scale where we target. We have over 38,000 skills. Those are skills that individuals, have shared that they have, or it's an aggregate as well through their experiences and descriptions that they've shared. And also obviously our LinkedIn Learning platform, our LinkedIn Learning Hub that recently launched, right? One of the top LXPs in the world, really. And we have over 120,000 schools on LinkedIn. And in terms of the knowledge base, like I mentioned, right, 443 billion in terms of that. So really high numbers, stats are just growing. I believe these are the most updated stats. Yeah, because I should have taken my presentation here. So again, this is the platform when we want to talk about workforce, we want to talk about talent, we want to talk about, finding that next step for you. It's all on LinkedIn. Now, again, now that we've talked about LinkedIn and all this fun data, and now you know kind of like what it is, let's talk about your profile and your story. Let's really get into it, how to make your profile stand out. Your LinkedIn profile is a digital portfolio of you. It tells your professional story. You have the opportunity to showcase what it is you want to showcase, right? It doesn't really have to depend on an industry, I don't think, but if you wanted to, it can. I had a lot of questions yesterday, right? Of like, well, what picture do you recommend that we post on here? And I'm like, well, I would hope it shows you, like, don't put a picture of you and your cat. Like, this isn't Facebook, right? But some people do that. But I think that, and you know what, like if your job is maybe being a vet, like that's a good picture, right? Go ahead and put it. But that's not the audience that we're talking about right now, right? Like a lot of the folks, a lot of alumni, part of our alumni network, right? Y'all are in government, y'all are in nonprofits, y'all are in corporate. Those pictures don't really kind of make sense for our profile. But even then, right? Like say you are in all of those industries that I mentioned, but you're in the marketing team, the creative team. You want a picture that kind of shows that you're part of that, right? I know a lot of creatives that have some great pictures that just really showcase their personality through the colors that are shown in their picture, right? We were joking a little bit before the presentation started about, obviously y'all saw my headshot. My hair is super dark. That's an old headshot, right? But so I need to get it updated, but definitely showcasing like, how you look, your face, and it could be as big as large. I would definitely not recommend iPhone pictures, right? Maybe get a professional headshot. But if you can make it happen, I know like the latest iPhone is like a great camera, so maybe you can try that. But what about you, Leo? What do you say about, your headshots? What do you think?
I agree with a lot with what you said, Jasmine. I think it does need to be clear. It definitely needs to be focused on your face. I've seen in my own network that a selfie in the mirror or something that is not as clear, and they LinkedIn is definitely used in many facets, and you want to make sure that you're presenting your best self on LinkedIn. And then I would also say that on LinkedIn, there's also professionals who use their profile photos to say that they're hiring or looking for employees or other things like that. So there's just a lot of reasons why the profile photo is pretty important. So.
Thanks, Leo. Yeah, so that was my next slide. I wanted to show again some data, right? Like 9 times more connections when you have a picture, 21 more times profile views, 36 times more messages. Why is this important, right? Like if you're looking for a job, you want to get those connection requests, you want to get those profile views, you want to get those messages, right? Again, I know a large body of our alumni network works for government. Y'all want to be incognito and whatnot, right? So that's totally fine. Like I know the hiring process is a little bit more different, like say if you're trying to get on the Hill, right? But I will share a fun fact that not everybody knows, because we also recently launched this. Should a government agency or a nonprofit be on the back end, right, using our tools to hire individuals, there's a new feature where, again, to remove bias, they only see the initials of the candidates and no pictures. So that's a really cool thing that I know we recently launched, again, to remove bias from like the hiring practices. But I think that's also in a way encourages more people to have their pictures, because, the platform is utilized a certain way. Yes, like you're a job seeker and you're looking for jobs and you want to present a certain type of way, right? But like, then there's another aspect of like the hiring process and the hiring cycle where we can hide that. So that's also a cool little fact. And I just want to make sure we're on, okay, no questions. In case you do have questions, please feel free to share them. Not a problem. I also wanted to make sure to share with folks, not sure if you knew this, but there are photo filters on LinkedIn too. So if you feel like the lighting wasn't that great in a picture that you took, you can make sure to edit that. You can pencil edit the picture. Like there's so many things you can do. I mean, I feel like similar to Facebook, you can edit a lot of things. Probably don't put like a fake picture, but, and what I mean by fake picture is like, don't edit it so much that it looks super fake. But there are ways, and you'll see it here, like in the zoom and the straighten and the filter and the adjust. All of those are neat tools for adding a picture. Let's see. Next is a really cool thing that I know a lot of us on this call definitely appreciate, is being able to record your name. I know I hate it when people mispronounce my name or misspell it more often than not, right? So this is an opportunity to kind of like take hold of that, to make sure, that folks can pronounce your name correctly or the way that you want it to be pronounced. And you can do it at a click of a button on LinkedIn. Again, this is another opportunity, right? If we're talking about your profile, your story, it's an opportunity to showcase who you are. And you can do that through this. Again, it takes a couple of minutes, not minutes, seconds, sorry, 10 seconds. Just limit the background noise and you'll be able to record your name. And now another fun thing that I love that LinkedIn recently introduced is, sorry. Oh, it's a little bit out of order. Let's see. Adding your pronouns. Sorry, I'm telling you, I can barely see my screen. Adding your pronouns. That's what I wanted to share about. Again, being able to show up as your authentic self, more about who you are, right? It's an optional ad. You can set the visibility, but it's there, right? And here's another cool stat. 72% of hiring managers believe it's important and it shows respect. Do you have any insight or any opinions you'd like to share, Leo, on adding pronouns?
This is a new feature that I really appreciate. I am part of the LGBTQ community, and I think that many in the workforce are, and I think that they appreciate, along with myself, the he, him pronouns, or sorry, just pronouns in general. But I am honestly, I did not know about this statistic that you just shared about the hiring managers. And that kind of, I don't know, brings me joy on how the workforce is changing and how much more welcoming they are. So
I agree, right? I have other cool little stats for you all. So similarly, actually, 70% of job seekers believe it's important that recruiters and hiring managers know their gender pronouns. And also our research shows that pronouns are core to our identity, right? So like, I know that there has been, part of the journey of the LinkedIn platform where people think it's like, oh, it's, very like suit, like it's so professional, and you're not like, what is professional? What is showing up as my authentic self, right? And so this is just yet another way where we're like, okay, we really want you to be able to feel like this is a platform where you can show exactly who you are. And this is part of it. And again, research backs it up. So fun little ad. Something else that folks don't know you can do, and this is, I think, a fairly recent ad as well, is creating your cover story, right? So not only can you have your picture, and it doesn't, like take it away if you add a video, it doesn't take away your picture, it'll just show both. But it's another cool way where you can use a 30-second video to introduce yourself. You can provide an intro, share your story, highlight your goals. If you're hiring, I know Leo mentioned that earlier, right? And I think I talk a little bit about it in the later part of the presentation, but it's an opportunity to, again, showcase kind of like what matters to you, right? What is the industry? Where are you trying to influence, right? Talk about that. It was funny. This morning I was looking at Ryan's, our CEO's video, and it was really cool because in those 30 seconds, he talked about like, hey, like I'm fortunate enough to have my dream job at LinkedIn, but then also talked about our mission, and then also talked about, how you can get involved with LinkedIn. And I thought that was really cool. I'm like, wow, you can do that in 30 seconds. I probably need to work on that pitch for myself, right? But again, yet another opportunity. I mean, you already know wherever you're applying, like the first thing people are going to do, they're going to Google you. What's the best thing to do is have LinkedIn be the top result, right? And then they get to see this, they get to see your personality already. I think that's a great opportunity to take advantage of that. I will give some like key pro tips. You can only access this, create your cover story on your mobile phone. And it's just through your app. And again, it's a great opportunity to show your personality. So be conversational, show excitement, wave when you say hi. So just a couple of tips on that. I just want to make sure that there were no questions. Okay, cool. Step 5, add your industry. Members with industry information receive up to 9 times more profile views. Again, this is important, especially if you're a job seeker or you're looking to transition, or you're trying to be an influencer within a specific industry, right? And I know a lot of us are. I mean, we wouldn't be part of CHCI. We weren't trying to make a name in a specific type of space, right? So this is another opportunity to do that through your LinkedIn profile, is showcase your industry. Again, I will share, like on the back end, a lot of hiring managers, when they are searching for candidates, say specifically as an example, because I work with nonprofits, right? They'll select, hey, they want them to be in the nonprofit industry, and it'll kind of like show those as the top results, right? So if you want to be someone that is known for being in like government, that is known for being a nonprofit, or what have you, make sure to select that as an option on your profile. Let's see. And then actually, this is a really good example, right? Financial services. So say, for example, if you are in the government industry, but you are an expert in the financial space, right? I know when I was on the Hill, like that's the sector that I was specifically focusing on. And actually, Leo, economic opportunity, right? Like we both were focusing on this. So there's other opportunities on your LinkedIn profile to showcase that, like it's still under the industry, the government, but you're able to showcase the other like specific parts of what part of the industry you're working in. And then another cool, a feature that was also recently added is that you're open to work. And what's really cool about this, I think some folks are scared to put it up because they think your employer can see it. And there is a feature or part of the feature is where you can hide so your employer does not see that you are looking for work. So you get to select, I only want recruiters to see this, or I only want X, Y, and Z person to see this. And again, but I mean, a really cool statistic is 40% more likely to be noticed by recruiters, because again, that's another feature on the back end that they can select. Hey, I want to talk to the people that are actually open to work, at least like in my first phase, right? So make sure to take advantage of this feature. It's super easy. That's the first thing. I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of you see on when you're kind of scrolling through your feed, you'll see the green one is like you're open to work. And then the purple one is hiring, right? So make sure to look out for those. And on that note too, like I've recommended to individuals, because I know we're hiring a lot at LinkedIn too, is reach out. Like people put those banners on for a reason. If there is someone that says, hey, I'm hiring, again, this is the platform to do it. Send them that cold email like, hey, can I have 5 seconds of your time? This is exactly why I think you should hire me, or I'm interested in the roles that you posted, right? Like they're not putting the banner just to put the banner. They're putting the banner because they want individuals to go talk to them. This is a very tight, competitive job market right now. So you want to go ahead and utilize that. Now, going into drafting a compelling summary. I feel like I want to kick this one off to Leo, because I talk a lot about the summary when I was at CHCI. So what do you think, Leo? You want to go ahead and share a little bit about what you think about a summary and how you have shaped yours on LinkedIn?
Yes. So I will go ahead and say that I had the biggest critique I've had, especially early on, and my young professional years, was that I could be a little too descriptive on or use too many words on my resume. It could be my cover letter. So I took that to heart when I was writing, or when I work on my summary. So I try to think of like basically keywords that I have that are on my resume that reflect my personal skills and the industry that I work in. So a lot of that will be around public policy or developing strategy around that. I also like to think about some of the more hard skills that folks look for. Example being, like, have you managed anyone? Have you managed any projects? And not get too specific onto the specific product that I was working on. Example being, when I first had my summary, I would talk about the specific legislation that I worked on, or like, and just give titles to the bills or policy proposals that I had been working on. And that's not what recruiters are interested in. They're more interested in the overall skills you use, i.e. research, writing, and things of that nature. And I also highlighted a little bit about my academic background, just because my interest is in economics, which is an academic focus. But so that is a little gist of, I guess, my recommendations. Keep it short and simple. Highlight the leadership or professional skills that you have, and do not keep in mind what recruiters are actually looking for in terms of skills and things that you bring to the table.
Thanks, Leo. I mean, I swear you probably looked at my notes. I mean, that's exactly what LinkedIn says, right? Keep it short, keep it sweet. No need to list all your career accomplishments. I mean, keep them wanting more. Like, this is just to get a glimpse, a snapshot of who you are, right? So use that as an opportunity. And also wanted to share with you all, did you know that adding a summary of 40 words or more makes your profile more likely to turn up in a future employer's search? So 40 words, that's, if we want to talk about a sweet spot, a sweet number, that's it. And I'll also, this is actually another section that when we do a follow-up with resources, there's a link with specific examples like per industry that shares kind of like what does better. So I'll make sure to share that with you all after this. Now, moving forward to featured content. This is, I feel like, the most unused section of LinkedIn. And this is a section that folks should be using the most, right? Like, this is a section that you can't really put on your resume. I feel like, yeah, sure, you can list out a whole like publication section, but where can you actually like, let me click in 2 seconds of a button, like see it, right? This is an opportunity again to showcase the work that you're most proud of, work that you played a role in. I know that was actually one of the top questions that I had yesterday, where they're like, oh, but like I was just a contributor in this. And I'm like, yeah, but you contributed, add it. Like it still has your name some way, somehow, and a way where you can kind of like add a little bit more detail, right? So say, for example, you were just, contributing again, like writer to a policy brief, right? Or my example actually is a good one. So I did the research for Racist to Watch when I was at Aleo, right? I have it in my featured content. I wasn't like the only author on that, right? I did all the data collection for it, but I made sure that, it's in my featured content. And then in my description, when I was at Aleo, I wrote there kind of what my role was. So it's not like I was taking full credit for the whole thing. I just wrote like, hey, I played, data researcher. So you can make sure to do that. Let's see, just kind of wanted to end it with that. Well, like, keep in mind that the content just doesn't have to be yours. Another way where you can use that space is to add all of your interviews, right? So again, if you're trying to be someone that's an influencer, that's known for something in a specific industry, again, with the examples of like government or nonprofit, we want to be known for like health policy experts, right? This is an opportunity to add interviews that you've done with Univision or Telemundo or whatever you have done, right? Add it on there, because believe it or not, you'll also get opportunities on LinkedIn for more ways to speak about that. I know just this morning, I got another email to do another interview that I kind of have done in the past with like small businesses, but that's because I still have all that stuff on there, right? So you can get a lot more opportunities that way and start building your portfolio, for the future. And I know that's important for a lot of us, especially again, if you're trying to transition into careers and whatnot. Do you have any other insight you'd like to share with the future content? Because I saw your face, Leo.
This is definitely something I have to further develop, and I think when it comes to feature content, it's the more it reminds me of like social media kind of, and I glad you mentioned what you mentioned, Jasmine, because I always question that as well. Like, I've done some economic research papers, been part of work as more of a supporter rather than someone who's leading or like a main contributor. And definitely seen like articles come out of it, and now know that I can use this feature content area to help amplify that. So.
Oh yeah. All right. And now to everyone's, I feel like, favorite section, or maybe the most used section, kind of like the purpose of your profile, more or less, right? And it's writing your experience. I think that, again, this is another section that more or less is underutilized. Folks, yeah, they'll add their jobs, but will fail to kind of include, what they've done there, something that they're most proud of, right? And so, I mean, again, here, some really cool stats. Members with up-to-date positions receive up to 5 times more connection requests, 8 times more profile views, 10 times more messages. Again, you're truly utilizing the platform the way it's supposed to be by just adding your job on there. Again, this is an opportunity where you don't feel like you have to write an essay. Like, keep it short, keep it sweet. I will say, just like with your resume, make sure to add quantify the work that you've done on there. That tells more of a story than when you don't quantify things. So again, make sure to utilize the section for what it's for. Again, rounding out your experiences. We have a couple of young alumni, that are on the call. Because again, I can't really see, but want to make sure to share with you all, utilize this experience for even those positions. Like, I know there's a whole other volunteer section and we can talk about that, but I know many of you, since you're so young in your careers, right, you can utilize this experience section. Like, if you had a top leadership role, like say you were the president or the founder of like some organization at your college, make sure to include that on there. It goes in this section too, and include kind of what you did and the impact that you made. So yeah, so I just wanted to throw that out there just in case for our younger alumni on the call. That's a way to do that. And then
Can I just add something for the work experience? On the other end, right? Like, I personally, when I do my research on people that I'm interested in connecting with, or whether that's the job search, whatever it may be, it's experience is definitely where I sort of jump to. And I whenever I get a new job, that's one of the first things that I update. And I mean, when seeing these connection requests, data points here and profile views, like when my boss or former boss announced her candidate race, like almost immediately my LinkedIn profile messaging and connections started popping up, and people asking questions, asking to be connected because of what I had in my work experience profile, and they knew where I worked. So it's a very useful function on LinkedIn, and I think it's definitely some place that I spend a lot of time, and I think where you all should spend a lot of time editing, making sure that, and like Jasmine said, like, be results driven. Organizations, nonprofits, they love to see what is the outcome of your work. So
thanks, Leo.
We have a question, Jasmine.
I saw it, Mariana. Thank you. I was getting ready to answer it. So excited about that one. So glad to know we have our young alumni on here, or just young professionals, because sometimes, you never know what gamut it runs on there. But I know part of the question, right, is like, how do you expand your network and your connections as a second year in college? And oh my gosh, I'm in love with this question, because that's literally, I feel like LinkedIn is built for you in a lot of different ways. But this is where start cold emailing people. Like, there is a job or a person's profile that you're like, I want my profile to look like that. Send them a cold email and like, hey, I just want to know, how you got into this role or how you did that. I'll tell you something. My profile really blew up when I added that I was a CHCI fellow on there, because literally everyone from back home wrote to me and they're like, how did you get to DC? Like, I've always wanted to get to DC and I don't know how to do it. And how did you do it? And I'm like, well, CHCI paid for it. but I got into CHCI. So definitely utilize it in that way, where I think to grow your network and your connections is by sending those cold emails. I know sometimes they feel a little, nerve-wracking, but again, this is that informal social contract that you're entering. It's to do that. People have a profile for that, not only, again, as job seekers to seek that next step, but then also to build a professional network. So I'll send a follow-up resources on kind of maybe recommendations on kind of what to write in a cold email. I always say, especially if you're trying to get some executives, to have a virtual coffee with you or in-person coffee or what have you, make sure to include dates and times in there. I cannot stress that enough. Folks have very busy schedules. So if they can look at an email and make sure not to make it long, right? But like, make sure if they see an email and it says, hey, I just want to know more about like what you've done, X, Y, and Z, like 1 to 2 sentences, tell them like why you're interested. And then here are some dates and times. I guarantee you are more likely to get a response than none at all. So that's on that. And then what is the difference between connections and followers? This is such a great question. So connections, here at LinkedIn, we recommend that connections are people that you know. Because again, believe it or not, so I am very careful with this one too. Not everyone is a connection. I have more followers than connections, because with connections, people will see like, oh, hey, you're connected to this person. So they'll ask you, they're like, hey, like, how was it working with them? Or how do you know them? Right. But followers, they're not connected to you in that way, but they can see your feed. So I hope that makes sense. Really, it's like a follower just sees your feed, but if someone clicks on their, what is it called? Like their page, it doesn't show that you're connected. Do you want to add something, Leo?
Yeah, I was going to say like connection is like someone you worked with, probably someone you were in an organization or an alumni with, and versus a follower. Like I follow economists at like the Federal Reserve Bank of Atlanta because I care what they say about like inflation rates in Atlanta and the South and in the South. So like this person I don't really have any personal connection to, but I value their information that they're putting out there. I also want to flag that there's another question in the chat on LinkedIn summary, any tips? And I do, Jasmine, would this presentation be shared after?
Yes.
Okay, cool. And wanted to just flag that question for you.
Oh, I didn't see that on there, but thanks. Yeah, no, the presentation's being recorded and it's going to be shared.
Okay.
I have another question on struggling to write your LinkedIn summary. Like we said, kind of make it short, make it sweet, make it specific, showcase your accomplishments, what you're interested in terms of like, say, for example, you are, I don't know, a current staff assistant on the Hill, right? But you want to become a legislative correspondent. Write that on there. Like, hey, like I've been doing this role for X amount of time, but like in the next few months or in the next year, I want to jump to this role. That's a very basic one, but again, because of just, again, the audience. But say, for example, you are working at a nonprofit and again, you're working in the policy space, but maybe you want to work on like policy/communications. Use that as a transition, use that on there. I recently, there was one video that I was watching that talked about this. One, we kind of recommend to use more, what is it, first person, not third person, because again, you want it to be like you, yourself, your authentic self, talking about yourself, but also to share, I share on there, I box now. And so I'm like, hey, on the weekends when I'm not drinking coffee, because I'm a coffee drinker and I love it, I'm also practicing my boxing skills. So add a fun fact about yourself. I always laugh when people added that on their resumes, but I think LinkedIn is the platform to add that on there. So you can do that. And then again, so this is just like a couple of, tips that you can use. But I will make sure to share some links. Again, like literally there's 10 plus links that I have prepared for everyone. I'll put it on the chat box when we're done, but then also we'll make sure to send a follow-up email when the video gets sent out, because CHCI is going to go ahead and take care of that. Real quickly, because I know we're almost up at time and I want to make sure we have time to cover everything. So activate your creator mode. So this allows you to reach a larger audience. Again, showcase content front and center. I'm sure many of you have probably noticed on your profile, you are able to add like talks about, and there's hashtags. You'll pop up on those hashtags if you added it on yours, right? So I know I talk a lot about mentorship. I talk a lot about Latinx leadership. I talk a lot about nonprofits because that's my industry, more or less, even if I'm in corporate, right? Yeah, another example of how we mix that. And a lot of individuals find me through that. So again, that's another way where you can establish yourself as an influencer and what you talk about, and kind of what part of, you want to be like showcasing your voice in a specific industry or space. Let's see. And then real quick, a couple of extras, make sure to add your volunteer experience, like we mentioned, right? This is a key space to do that. Make sure you'll see again another fun stat. Members who add volunteer experience get up to 6 times more profile views than those who don't. My favorite part, again, as we transition through this great reshuffle, the skills taxonomy, we know that the future of work is going to be reliant on just reskilling our employees, right? And so make sure to add that on your profile, the skills. Something that's really cool that I know a lot of folks don't know, because I know I just learned about LinkedIn, is that you can take skills assessments on this like skills and endorsement section. And if you say you like score at a certain level, right, it'll mark you like proficient or advanced or what have you. But then say if you don't score kind of, you know, how you want to, or how you probably should to like add it as an official skill, it'll give you recommendations on LinkedIn learning courses to get you to that level. So I thought that was pretty cool, because that technically kind of gives you access to LinkedIn learning, you know, trial basis, but it gives you access. So you can kind of see what the platform's all about. So definitely recommend folks to use that. And again, members who add their skills and get endorsed, and they add 5 or more, get 17 times more profile views. Let's see. And then request a recommendation that could not be very, very popular. I know for me, I have a couple of recommendations with folks that I've worked kind of like alongside, not the people that I've worked with, but externally, right? A lot of my jobs have been more external partnerships in the past. And so that also looks really good, you know, especially if you're trying to get a job that works a lot more customer facing, right? Or just again, external partnership facing, that they've written a recommendation. And it helps, you know, again, build credibility, validate your skills. Again, when you're trying to transition, I know a lot of us, right? We're always asking for like, hey, can you write a recommendation for a fellowship? Or can you write for this and that? You know, folks, again, are looking at your LinkedIn profile. This is a way to add even more recommendations, especially from your high profile people, if you can get them to, right? And again, actually, a lot of the folks that have written some for me have asked for one in return. So you can kind of do that too, if you want to. I would recommend, right, probably having a direct report or a direct boss or someone high up, if you can, to write some recommendations. So you have different variation of recommendations. And then let's not forget, right, your location. I know right now, right, a lot of remote positions are opening up or are available, like what it means to be hybrid work. And just, again, the future of work it's here and now, but it looks very different. And so, but it is important to showcase your location if you want a specific job, you know, in a specific area. Showcase your education. That's also very important. Many folks probably also don't know this, but there's a lot of universities that are building out like their alumni networks on LinkedIn. Like that's how fast we're growing and how many folks are getting their LinkedIn profiles and adding their schools. So make sure to do that. Again, your publications and your accomplishments. We talked a lot about that. So make sure to include it. And then another way you can utilize LinkedIn. So right now we talked about how you create your profile. It's your profile, your story, right? But now another way, just real quickly, that you can use LinkedIn is being able to follow companies and influencers. Again, use this as a knowledge-based platform as well. And you can, again, gain knowledge and insights in that way. Again, following companies, trust me, invest a lot of money in showcasing their organizations. This is a great way, actually. I mean, I know that we have, you know, Glassdoor, Indeed. Well, Glassdoor, I think, is a top one where folks write reviews. But this is another great way. Like if you're researching companies, because I always say, I'm like, they're not just interviewing you, you're interviewing them. Research them. Look for them on LinkedIn. I know really cool features that we've recently added for our company pages is employee testimonials. They have a whole life tab that they can add, you know, showcase their story of like, what's their impact, their culture and values. What are they trying to do? How are they approaching diversity, equity, and inclusion? If that is important to you, they can showcase that on their LinkedIn profile, and you can find it with a click of a button. I always tell my customers here on the LinkedIn side with nonprofits, this is a great way to attract talent, because what is the first thing you do after you click on a job posting? You go on the company page. You're like, I want to know about this organization. So it makes sense for the organization to kind of build that up, right? And then again, following influencers. Okay, to the perfect example. I know a lot of conversations we're always talking about, right? Like, do you have any book recommendations? Do you have any this? Follow the influencers. They'll post about it. Barack Obama and Bill Gates do it all the time. They post their book recommendations on LinkedIn. Make sure to follow them. Let's see. And then again, searching at scale. We have advanced search options where you can break it down by industry, break it down by location, and break it down by company. And again, it's using this platform as a way where you can learn more about your industry and what have you. You also have the opportunity to customize your feed, right? So not many folks know this, but I actually gave off social media with the exception, obviously, of LinkedIn, because it's literally my job, probably 4 or 5 months ago. And I, like, in retrospect, I was like, wait, I was really only using this platform for like the news. What is this? And now, I mean, LinkedIn has news. You'll see it on your right-hand side. There's also company pages. You can literally follow LinkedIn news. And I like it because they give you like daily recaps of like, this is what happened in the world. Like, this is what you should be knowing in 3 minutes or less. So you can follow that. Again, you can, very clickable button, easy, user-friendly, follow, unfollow news, content posts that matter most to you and are relevant to you and your industry. And that is it for me. So I think I might have a question that I didn't answer, but I'll go ahead and read it while Leo, I don't know if you have any last minute thoughts, kind of want to share a little bit more again about how LinkedIn has been helpful for you.
Yes, I just want to take a second to go back to like the work experience section in the summary. And one thing that this is relevant for folks who want to switch industries, right? Like there's a lot of CHCI alum who work in government who want to go to the corporate or nonprofit sector. Challenge yourself to think about the transferable skills that you should include in your summary and your work experience that might be valuable to the companies that you're looking for. And when it comes to those companies as well, you can actually use LinkedIn. When you follow them, there's a section there to click on people, and you can see people in your own network on LinkedIn who work for that particular company, or people that are connected to your first connections. And that is really helpful in networking. Or also just like, expanding your network and making new connections on LinkedIn, and following like the content of that company. But I really want to stress the importance, if you're really looking into switching industries, really look at the transferable skills that you've got from your job that you think could apply to the new industry or the new position that you're looking at. And that's what I wanted to add. So I'll go ahead and continue with the Q&A.
Very good. Thank you, Leo. I appreciate your perspective and you being here. Because again, I feel like Leo is the perfect example of someone that I've worked alongside, since they were a fellow. I always joke, I was like my success story. But no, appreciate sharing your insight. So I know one of the other questions is regarding connecting with only people in your field or keeping it well-rounded. I mean, that's up to you, to be honest. Like, what do you want to use LinkedIn for? You have the option to keep it well-rounded for sure, right? But then it's like, when you think about going on LinkedIn, say, like, if you went on it like you do on Instagram or Facebook, like, what do you want to see on your newsfeed? So that's why I kind of like put the question back to you, right? Like, what do you want to see on your newsfeed? If you want to use this platform to help you become a better, a more educated, kind of well-rounded person in the policy space, like specifically with health, man, follow all of the health organizations you possibly can. If you're like working at the national level, you probably want to follow all the national organizations, or if you're only working in, say, Illinois or Chicago, right? Like, that's what you want to follow. So you have the opportunity to curate this platform the way you want it to. I mean, similar to the other platforms, but you can really use this, I think, to position yourself as a leader in whatever industry you choose. And I believe the specific person is in finance and supply chain management. So I think that that would be best, especially as you're barely starting out in your career. I would definitely recommend using this platform to follow individuals, again, of people that, like, if you want your profile to look like theirs, aka you want their job one day, follow someone like that, and then reach out to them, right? Create that network on here. I mean, that's kind of what I did. Like, excuse me, when I was graduating college, I knew I wanted to work on the Hill. Like that was my dream job. I didn't care how I got there. I was like, I'm going to figure it out. Ha ha ha. Now, right? We laugh because JK, that was not my dream job. But hey, at 24 years old, thanks to CHCI, I was able to figure out that's not my dream job, but I got to do it. Right. But in anticipation of that, I mean, I followed every Congress member and the chief of staff and the this and that. I, again, built that network on there, and then through CHCI, I mean, it was through CHCI that I started learning about like, oh, wait, I can be a nonprofit. I can be in corporate. All of these, I remember after each session, they would give us a kind of like roundup of all the like industry leaders we met, right? Like where else can you be like 21 meeting like the VP of PepsiCo, right? But we got to do that, and then went on LinkedIn and got to add them and got to stay in contact with them, kept them as a professional contact. So yeah, definitely. I think again, the platform is there for you to utilize in the way that you want it to, and curate again your content. But I think for you, for this specific person, definitely use it to grow your network in finance and supply chain management.
I will also just say, I think if you're still in school, right, still connect with those people that are in the student organizations that you're in, or maybe you're a resident assistant, like still connect with those folks, because your experience as an undergraduate student is basically it's your experience before you get hired into your first job. And years down the line, those connections might mean something later, right? Like if you're in a student organization committed to fighting inequality or poverty, right? Those other students might be committed to a career path in that area as well, but may take a completely different route. And that might mean something later down the line when you're on the job search. An example of that is me leaving DC and coming back to Atlanta, Georgia with like, basically I had to rely on my network, and I connected with folks that I was an SGA with that went a completely corporate business analyst route. And I was a government public sector professional. However, the corporate sector still looks for government relations specialists or things like that. So those connections could mean something later. And that could be your boss when you're tutoring or whatever it may be. Those connections do matter, especially that early in your professional career.
Thanks, Leo. So I know we're coming up to an end. Is there anything else you want to add, Leo, about like LinkedIn, how it's been helpful for you? Especially, if you're trying to transition into different industries. I know you've shared already a lot of part of your story, but any final thoughts before I close this out?
I know it can see like a tough hurdle to get through, but as someone who Jasmine literally saw one of my first resumes, and she's like, you're gonna have to cut that down. So, and I've gone a long way, and I think a lot of young professionals can and use LinkedIn to the best of their ability that reflects who they are and what they're interested in. And if you feel free to add me on LinkedIn, and if you need any advice, like feel free to message me.
Thanks for reminding me. I'm actually going to go ahead and add my link now, or I don't know if someone can do it for me, please, because I can't figure out these screens. But add my LinkedIn profile, make sure to connect with me. Now I'm going to go ahead and transition to my National Vice President of our Alumni Association hat. And thank everyone for being here. I think we had such a great engaged audience, and I really appreciate it. I mean, it's evening over here in Chicago. I mean, I know it's evening in a lot of places, but it's late over here. It's been a long day, and I had a really great time with Leo sharing all of this information with you all. And I just want to remind you all that you're not alone. Like, again, you're part of this network, whether you're part of the Alumni Association, you're a friend of CHCI, like we got resources galore, and we're here to help you build out your platform, your LinkedIn, whatever it is you need. Again, the connections are a click of a button, right? So whether it's through CHCI, again, you're trying to get connected to someone, I know many of us are more than happy to connect you with individuals, but then also on the LinkedIn side, right? I'm going to transition a little bit over here, but like I said, I'm going to send you all a bunch of different links with resources on like every specific section of your profile. We have tons of videos, collateral that share again how to maximize your profile. And now you have this video and you've stayed for this session to learn again how to maximize our platform. So I hope you enjoyed it. Again, thank you for being here today. On behalf of the Alumni Association, hope you found this helpful. And we look forward to many more sessions in the future, you know, to talk about LinkedIn and many other platforms, right, that we can maximize to build our professional presence online. So thanks, everyone.
Thank you.